What's up, Soul Fam? It's Sundial from Substance Over Star, and welcome to a new video. So today I want to talk again about feminine energy and activating your feminine energy, because the last video that I made about feminine energy and healing your wounded inner feminine got a lot of response. Like, I was getting a lot of DMs from people asking me lots of questions, and it seems like people are very hungry for this, which is great, because I was really nervous to talk about it, because femininity has been so suppressed for millennia, and you know, it's, even though now we're kind of talking a lot about, we're talking a lot about feminism, but don't get me started on that. I'll talk about that in another video, but we're kind of talking about the divine feminine awakening, and it's all very, like, sounds very soft and lovely, and, you know, roses and just, you know, prettiness, but it actually involves going into a lot of dark parts of our psyche, because the feminine by its very nature is extremely primordial and taboo, and it involves going into, yeah, just some of the darker aspects of, you know, our sexuality and our spirituality, because they are very intrinsically linked. So I know that you're hungry for this information, and I'm kind of yearning to talk about it as well, because I've been studying it for a while now, and I kind of want to share some of my insights. So this video, I'm going to try and keep it short and just give 3 of my top tips on how to heal your inner feminine and how to connect with your feminine energy. Okay, so the first one is movement. Now, the feminine is all about not just movement necessarily, but just being in the body. So you've got the Holy Trinity, which is the divine masculine thoughts, logic, divine feminine emotion, which leads to divine child action. So you have to have all those 3 balanced within your own psyche, and also collectively within the human collective, because as above, so below. So how do we shift the human collective? We start with our own psyche. So when you balancing the feminine is very important for particularly women who find themselves much more in their masculine, which is generally very common in sort of Western society in particular, but also I see it a lot in sort of Eastern cultures as well, with the feminist movement that is being adopted in sort of Eastern cultures due to kind of decades of female suppression, that women are now becoming more and more in their masculine, because we live in a society that kind of praises masculine energy and sees masculine energy as more powerful, when actually feminine energy is just as powerful. So yeah, anybody who has any debate about that, just go and watch what's her face, Salma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn, and tell me that the feminine is not powerful. Okay, so yeah, movement gets you into your body, because the body is where you feel your emotions, you feel, you know, you get gut feelings, or you feel things from your heart. The body is basically the subconscious mind, and the feminine is about the subconscious. It's about your emotions. They're much less likely to lie to you. So your emotions is where you kind of get in touch with your intuition, which is again to do with feminine energy. So ways that you can kind of activate your feminine energy through movement. My favorite is dance. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna include a little video of me dancing around my bedroom. I created some content with my friend Laura, in collaboration with my friend Laura Cherry. It was a group of girls, social media influencers, and sort of feminine energy coaches, and just conscious influencers who kind of got together, and we all chose a track for each other to dance to. So I'm posting mine on Instagram this week, and I've posted it at the end of this video as well. And for me, like I literally just finished doing it. That's why I'm kind of like a little bit sweaty, because it's very hot in London here at the moment. But whenever I dance, and like I regularly like to go to ecstatic dance because it kind of gets me into my body. It helps me release certain emotions. I'm going to put a link in the description box, or link it here, where you can see the interview that I did with Laura Cherry, talking about dance as a form of somatic therapy and releasing trauma. It kind of gets all that kind of yin energy flowing around your body. And for me, I can always tell if I'm really stressed out, if I've been very much in my masculine and very, very much in kind of go, achieve, do. Because when I dance, even if it's a song that I really love and starts moving through me, I can feel that in certain parts, the energy is not flowing freely. Like my joints are a little bit stiff, and the dance doesn't flow quite as well as, if I'm doing it regularly, or if I'm kind of cultivating my feminine energy more through other practices. So another one that's really good is yin yoga, because yin kind of opens up your joints and it kind of stretches out your connective tissue in different places. So again, if you have traumas and stuck energy trapped in different parts of your fascia, yin yoga will stretch that out. So try to avoid, if you're trying to activate your feminine, try to avoid more yang styles of yoga like Ashtanga. I used to do Ashtanga, and it's extremely masculine. It requires a lot of upper body strength, and I feel like it's very much about kind of power and, using a lot of energy, not kind of sitting still and kind of being with yourself in the way that yin is. I much prefer yin. That's what I'm doing at the moment anyway. I stopped doing Ashtanga when I found out that Pattabhi Jois was an absolute creep. So yeah, it's obviously not the one. Another really great movement modality is martial arts. Any type of martial arts is amazing, because martial arts is almost like dance. It's amazing for right brain training. So your right brain hemisphere is the more feminine one. It's the one that connects you to your emotions, your creativity, your intuition. Left brain is more kind of logic, mathematics, reason, all of those things that are more kind of masculine ways of thinking. And both of those need to be in balance. If you want to know more about left brain and right brain and how they correspond to masculine and feminine energy, then definitely check the previous video that I made on this topic, which I will link. So yes. Now, the second way that you can help heal and activate your feminine energy is by connecting to your sacred space. Now, yoni is the Sanskrit word for pussy, and it literally means sacred space, because your pussy is sacred. It's basically the doors, the gates to the temple that is your body. Your body is a fractal of the divine mother. A man's body is a fractal of the divine father. That's why in Tantra is about basically worshipping the god and the goddess through the temple of the body. That's why it's quite related and quite closely, intimately linked with sexuality, although it transcends just sexuality, but sexual practices and intimate practices are a part of it. So connecting with your sacred space, there's all different kinds of ways and techniques that I like to use to kind of connect with my womb space. For the last year, I've been doing regular Yoni steams. And that's really, really helped with a lot of my menstrual cramps. Menstrual cramps are really, really common, in women who are very much in their masculine energy, trying to, make it in a man's world. It causes all kinds of gynecological problems when you're suppressing your feminine energy. It throws your hormones out of balance. So yoni steaming with different herbs, depending on what you're trying to work on in that space. If you're trying to release the energy of previous lovers, trying to release sexual shame, pine is a really good one for that. yerba mate is great if you have any kind of hemorrhoids. There's different herbs. I can do a separate video where I talk about the different herbs that I use for yoni steaming, but it's really helped with my cramps. I used to get cripplingly bad menstrual cramps. Going vegan definitely helped with my menstrual cramps, and fasting as well. I've talked about in previous videos how fasting's really helped my cramps, but yoni steaming is another way also that you can kind of just cleanse that space and kind of clear it out and clear, you know, the debris that previous partners have left behind, especially if you have any kind of sexual trauma, that your sacred space will store that tension, which is why a lot of the time when women have very powerful orgasms, I mean, for me personally, when I have very powerful orgasms, I get massive emotional releases, and I'm releasing a lot of like pain, a lot of emotional trauma from like previous relationships, previous partners, previous traumas, all kinds of stuff. And sometimes I can tap into the energy of my partner as well, whoever I'm with, or if I'm by myself as well, then, you know, it's just my own energy. But you know, really connecting with your sacred space will help you connect to your emotional body. And also when it comes to orgasms, I know that a lot of women, I mean, I don't have this problem because I've kind of studied female sexuality since I was like 13 or 14. And, you know, if you're interested in studying that, I do recommend a book by Cher Height called, what was it called? The Height Report. I read that when I was 14, and it's about female sexuality and specifically female pleasure and the female orgasm. And it set me up for life because I never had a problem with, you know, having orgasms during sex. And I know that this isn't common. I speak to so many of my female friends and they're just not orgasming. And a lot of the time, the reason why they're not orgasming is because they're not honoring themselves. They don't know how to ask for what they need. They don't even know what they need because they don't know what they like. So there's a massive section in that book on self-pleasure and different techniques that women would use to bring themselves to orgasm, so they can find out what kind of touch they like, just all kinds of things like that. So self-pleasure, I think, is really important for women particularly. I know that in spiritual communities a lot of men have a massive emphasis on no fap and things like that, but that's because the way that sexual energy moves through the male body is different to the way that it moves through the female body. Sexual energy energizes us. Men actually become depleted when they spill their seed, whereas we don't spill our seed. So, and there's different types of orgasms that will energize you and some that will deplete you. But you can't learn about them unless you practice self-pleasure. So definitely getting intimately involved with yourself is great. You can check out my video that I made on the DIY body oil. That's got lots of essential oils for the sacral chakra, which is the center of your sexual energy. So you can use that for self-pleasure. I use it for self-pleasure and it's amazing. It's got beautiful scents and it will really make you feel very sensual, very feminine. You don't need anybody there to kind of cultivate that sexual energy. You are the source of it. So those kind of, you know, aromatherapy oils will help you put you in touch with that sensuality that is your creative fire. Another way to connect to your sacred space, and this is what I talked about before, about the feminine, us being willing to go to places that are commonly accepted as being taboo, to connect with your blood. Now, a lot of people shy away from this or are grossed out by it, but I'm telling you, sis, that if you are grossed out by your own blood, then you are massively disconnected from your femininity and from your own body. And if you are interested in doing this work, if you're interested in empowering yourself, connecting with your blood is going to be necessary. The number one way that I find that I like to connect with my blood is by using a moon cup, because I think if you're using tampons and pads, I can understand why people then become grossed out by it, because, you know, it's becoming soaked into an absorbent thing, and then, you know, it doesn't smell too good. When you collect it in a moon cup, it's fresh. When you pull it out, then you can feed it. Like, I have house plants in my bathroom and I feed it directly to the plants. It contains a ridiculously high number of stem cells, and when you're returning your blood to the earth, then, you know, the universe will deliver things back to you. That's why menstrual blood is so powerful to use in spell work. So those of you that practice spell work, consider using some of your menstrual blood in your spell work. Where was I going with this? Yeah, just do a little bit of research though. Be very careful when you're using blood with spell work, because it's incredibly powerful, and it can sometimes maybe have repercussions that you might not want. Say, like for example, don't use it in, I mean, if you do love spells or binding spells, I'm not saying that they're unethical, but I find them a bit counterintuitive. But if you were going to do a love spell or a binding spell, don't use blood. Like, I wouldn't recommend it anyway, because it's very, it's your DNA that you're then kind of binding to another person. Like, you might not be able to get rid of them once you do it. So, just connecting with the blood by returning it back to the earth. I think that to be afraid or to be ashamed of your own blood is just a real shame, because it's from that blood that life is generated. The lining of the womb, that's what cultivates and creates life. Our womb contains dark matter, the same dark matter that is comprises 96% or however much it is of the entire universe. So that's why we are a portal to the divine. That's why we're able to bring people into this world. I see a lot of girls being very hesitant to be intimate while they're on their period, and I think that's a real shame, because a lot of the time it comes from just shame and not feeling comfortable with your own body, self-rejection, and not feeling safe with your partner. And why would you want to be with somebody who you don't feel safe with? Why would you want to open up to somebody who you don't feel safe with? He wants to be inside you. He wants to be not just inside your body, but inside your emotions. He wants to connect with you and be intimate with you. And how is he going to be able to do that if you can't even be intimate with yourself? And if it's him that's making you feel bad about your blood, then why are you with him? Why are you dishonoring yourself by being with somebody who can't even accept you in the fullness of who you are? So I don't know, that's just my thoughts on that. Obviously that's coming from quite a heteronormative perspective, but think about it this way. If you're say for example, you're in a relationship with another woman, if you can't accept your body when you're on your menstrual cycle, how rejected do you think that your female partner is going to feel about her menstrual cycle, about your ability to accept her when she's on her menstrual cycle, if you can't even accept your own? Do you know what I mean? Especially if your partner is the one that's kind of the more masculine one in the relationship, because there is always that polarity. I do realize that, like, in gay relationships sometimes it switches, but if she needs, like, when a woman is on her cycle, that's her most vulnerable time, and it's also potentially one of her most powerful times, because she's so in touch, she's so in her sort of primordial womb space. I mean, it's very difficult for me to explain these concepts because they almost transcend words. That's when she's most in touch with her intuition and most in touch with her emotions. That's why you're more sensitive when you're on your period. So if she's the more masculine one in the relationship, she's going to feel extremely vulnerable being in her feminine energy, just like how men feel very vulnerable when they have to go into their feminine. That's why they kind of go into their man cave when they're, feeling any kind of emotional turmoil, because they maybe don't feel that safety that they need to feel from the masculine, which would be you. If they're in their feminine, you would need to switch into your masculine to create that polarity in the relationship. I hope you're following me. Just connecting with your blood, connecting with your menstruation, I think is really, really key for kind of healing your wounds around your femininity. And the third one that I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to do another video like this, because there's so many different ways of connecting to your feminine energy, and there's so many of them are so good. The third one that I'm going to talk about today is shadow work. Shadow work for me was absolutely number one for healing my wounds around femininity. So just looking at some of your limiting beliefs around femininity. What does femininity mean to you? Does it mean being weak? Does it mean being submissive? Does it mean being emotional? Does it mean being hysterical? Does it mean being crazy? Does it mean, how do you perceive your ability to receive? Because the feminine is about receiving. It's a receptive energy. Masculine is projecting, penetrating. He's a giver. He's a provider. Feminine energy is receiving. How do you feel about that dynamic? Because nowadays with feminism, we've got women going, no, I don't need a provider. I can take care of myself, because we're in our masculine energy. And that's fine, but that's going to throw your hormones out of balance. It's going to cause stress. I mean, if you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but I've got a twitch in my eye because I've been so much in my masculine energy the last few months, just setting up my business and, you know, being in London and doing all the things that I need to do, just go, rat race life. That's what being in your masculine all the time will do to you. Being a high achieving, you know, successful woman in your yang energy all the time, it will deplete you. It will age you. Like, do you really want to kind of look much older before your time, you know, doing everything 50-50 with a man because you can do it too, and yet you're the one that's actually like giving birth and creating life and, you know, receiving his seed, but yet you're not receiving anything else from him. You're having to do it all yourself, and yet you're actually just making things easier for him. So, you know, we have a lot of shadows around our ability to receive. You know, we have all kinds of words for it: gold digger, prostitute, all these kind of terms that we use for something that is actually a very primal, basic, biological need that's hardwired into us as women, that we expect the masculine to make us feel safe and to provide for us and to take care of us, because when we actually become mothers, we are vulnerable, and our energy needs to go towards that. It needs to go towards caretaking and nurturing and healing and all of those things that the feminine does so well. So exploring some of your shadows around femininity and those feminine qualities, I think is really, really important work that we need to do as women if we want to reconnect with the feminine, and if we really, really want to say that we're empowered. Because suppressing the feminine, like feminism seems to be doing at the moment, I don't think is really gonna serve us. I think it's just gonna do more damage. And so I'm gonna be part of the charge that's gonna swing the pendulum back into the middle and say, no, we are feminine. We want to be feminine. We're best when we're feminine. We have masculine energy as well, and that needs to be in balance, because as I talked about before in my previous video, too much feminine energy will make us codependent and will make us weak and too submissive and acquiesce to a left brain dominator, toxic masculine. When we're properly balanced in our feminine and our masculine energy, then that's when proper balanced divine masculine, who's, you know, balanced with his feminine energy, which is the feminine aspect of care and compassion, comes into our experience, because we become a vibrational match to it. So, okay, I think I've talked enough about that now. If you have any questions, then please leave them in the comment box below, because I find that I can kind of bounce off your questions a lot easier than just talking to myself. So I'm really enjoying the interaction. If you have any suggestions for other... apologies, my battery died, so I had to charge it again. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box below. Give me suggestions for new videos as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it with anybody who could benefit from this information. Make sure you're subscribed and you click the bell icon for notifications whenever I upload new videos. I'm uploading 1 video a week at the moment. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. One love.
You're introduced to LSD, and unless you've taken some other drug, like for instance, like marijuana or something, well, you know, it's an altogether new thing, and you actually can have a religious experience, and